All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Wrestling Otaku back here on the one and only Wrestling Otaku channel. Of course, your personification of excellence on YouTube and YWC. We're the best reviews wrestling and your three-time YWC channel of the year. And I'm back here. It is now officially Sunday, November 24th, 2024 is the date. And we are little over or under 24 hours removed from, quite frankly, one of the better pay-per-views we have seen AEW produce all year. AEW Full Gear 2024. We're coming off the heels of that. Of course, yesterday, Saturday, November 23rd, is when that show took place. And what a great pay-per-view it was. AEW delivers yet again with their pay-per-views. Really, they've delivered all year. And I personally think this pay-per-view going into it was a stacked card. I think a lot of quality, a bunch of quality matches up and down. There was not really a single bad match on this show. I mean, there were some matches better than others. I personally think, obviously, the pre-show you had a lot of matches that just kind of were there on the pre-show. But really up and down the main card for Full Gear, excellent quality show, especially with the main event, especially with the more hyped up, built up matches later on. I personally think the back half of that card was really, really solid. And you can't really, like, if you are a fan of AEW, fan of pro wrestling, you did not have any single complaints about this card. I heard some people mentioning, oh, they only had one tag team match, they only had one women's match, or it's a bunch of singles matches, no stipulations. Well, AEW is the type of promotion that can have a card like this and produce quality matches and a quality card and a quality show without the need to rely on the stipulations and without the need to rely on this and that and the third. And that's the type of promotion AEW is. AEW getting back to its roots here, and that is solid, pure pro wrestling prowess here on this pay-per-view. And I personally think this show was to me better than Wrestle Dream from last month. Wrestle Dream was good in his own right, but I personally think this show tops Wrestle Dream, and I think it's one of the better shows of the year. Like, I would have to go back to Revolution, Double or Nothing to find the show that was maybe more quality than this one, but I do think that Full Gear is definitely on the list. But AEW once again delivers in terms of solid, great, excellent pay-per-views. So let me just go ahead and give you guys my recap / review for Full Gear. I would have done it last night, but I was so freaking dead tired. Like, I came off of work from yesterday, like right before the pay-per-view started, and I got back home just in time to catch the pre-show. So outside of one pre-show match, I pretty much watched this entire pay-per-view in its entire. I watched the entire pay-per-view in its entirety. And so, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, or give my thoughts and my review on the things that I saw. And so, yeah, well, that's what we're going to do here. So, little AEW Full Gear 2024 review, man. So, let's get into it. So, we'll start with the pre-show, the 0 hour. We had the first match was Anna Jay defeating Deonna Purrazzo, 7-minute match there. I didn't get the chance to see that match because, like I said, I was getting off of work, and I didn't get home until like around 6:30 or so, 6:30-ish, and then by the time I got home, some minutes went by, and I ended up missing this match. I didn't even know this match took place until later when I saw the results. But anyway, so I'm sure that was a fine match for what it was. It was only 7 minutes there. So then we get to the second match, a very nice four-way match featuring Buddy Matthews, Dante Martin of Top Flight, Commander, and the Beast Mortos. Fun match here. Buddy Matthews gets the win, gets a pin on, I believe it was Dante Martin, after Martin hit like a nice frog splash on Beast Mortos, hits him with a curb stomp, then gets the pin on him for the pinfall and the win. Solid win for Buddy Matthews in this four-way match, and Buddy Matthews was very much over with the crowd. Like throughout, like before, during, and after this match, the crowd was really behind Buddy Matthews. So nice win for him. And going forward, I wouldn't be surprised if Buddy Matthews maybe gets a little bit of a singles run, or maybe gets a stint in terms of tag teams, like with the House of Black. Personally, I would like to see Buddy Matthews and Brody King like make some noise in the tag team division outside of the Kings of the Black Throne. And I think Malachi, to me, is more of a singles guy, and I would like to see Malachi challenge for some singles titles down the line. That's just me personally. But then we get our third match, third and final match on the 0 hour, and a highly anticipated match because it was Big Boom AJ, accompanied by his son Sid Justice of the Costco guys, one-on-one versus QT Marshall with special guest timekeeper The Rizzler, who was another online persona, the basically child persona, I guess you could say internet famous persona. And we also had Paul White come out, and he was on commentary for this match. So it was fine for what it was. I didn't expect anything big because I wasn't familiar with this Big Boom AJ. And QT Marshall actually wrestled a decent match here. Big Boom AJ held his own. Apparently, Big Boom AJ was a former wrestler, so he does have that experience, but it's been a long time. It's like, what? I think they said he wrestled like, what, 10 years ago, and this match was 20 years in the making or something like that. But fine match for what it was. It was actually better than I expected. Like, usually when you have special guest appearances, or I guess you could say damn near celebrity, because this guy's, in a way, is an online celebrity or online persona. When you have special guest celebrity appearance matches like this, usually they tend to not all be all that special, but it was fine for what it was. Nothing special, nothing too great about it, but it was better than I expected. Let's just put it that. I said this on Blue Sky. It was better than I expected. Big Boom AJ gets the victory with nice. I forget what he used. I forget what move he used. It was like a scoop slam or something, some kind of power slam variation. But anyway, so he gets the pin on QT Marshall, as we all expected. And then you saw afterwards, the crowd was really into him, by the way. The crowd was really into Big Boom AJ. The crowd was really into the Rizzler. These guys are fan favorites, apparently. So, well, I mean, again, they're online personalities, so. But anyway, so afterwards you see the celebration in the ring with, the Costco guys and the Rizzler and Big Show, I think, joined them. And that was pretty much it for the 0 hour. So decent match there. So 10 minutes, 35 seconds for the four-way, and then 11 minutes, 45 seconds for the third match here with Big Boom AJ going over on QT Marshall. So anyway, so after that, we move on to the main card, main portion of the pay-per-view Full Gear. We start with the four-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team titles. It was the champions, Private Party, defending against the teams of the Acclaimed, of course, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, versus Knights of the Black Throne, as I mentioned before, Malachi Black and Brody King, and also versus the team of the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum. Very fun match here. As you would expect, all four teams got into it. You saw lots of frequent tags, so on and so forth. All kinds of crazy stuff happened in this match. It was pretty solid four-way. Went about 13 minutes, 25 seconds. The story of the match, at least near the end, is seemingly the dissension between the Acclaimed. And they kind of show little hints of it, like, the last couple weeks, but this match really displayed just where the Acclaimed stand. It seems almost like Max Caster's kind of having a little bit of a turn. Like, he came out with sporting some different attire, almost like, some kind of rockers gear. He had like the long tight pants with the frills on the side or whatever, and he cut this wrap, and instead of saying, usually he closes out by saying everyone loves the Acclaim, he closed out by saying everyone loves the best wrestler alive, which is what he calls himself. And then during the match, you saw, like, especially near the end, I think Anthony Bowens was going for like a pin, and then Max Caster like tagged himself out, and he wanted to go for his elbow drop, and Anthony Bowens, and he and Anthony Bowens like seemingly argued during the match. And it was like really bizarre, and obviously it kind of cost him in the end. But anyway, Private Party wins the match, ends up pulling the big win, big upset, and not upset, but they get the victory in the match, and they retain their AEW World Tag Team titles, as again I predicted. But tough challenge from the other three teams, and really the dissension of the Acclaimed was the kind of the story here in the back end. But the Private Party retains, and so it's all good. It's all great stuff. So I give that match 2 thumbs up. If I had to give it a grade, I'd give it a B plus. I thought it was a solid tag match. So next up, we get our first singles match of the show, first of many singles matches of the show, MJF 1-on-1 versus Roderick Strong. Very solid, very technically sound match. Roderick Strong, of course, very sound, ground-based wrestler, utilizes the backbreaker, is very technically sound. MJF is also technically sound, so MJF worked over Roderick Strong for a bit. Roddy Strong worked over MJF. Back and forth here. Eventually, MJF gets the victory after a series of moves from Roderick Strong, and then MJF, takes I forget how he did it, but he took advantage of like a miscue from Roderick Strong. He pulls him down, gets him in the it's almost like a Fujiwara armbar he calls Salt of the Earth, and he was working over Roddy's fingers throughout it. And in this Salt of the Earth, he pulled back on Roddy's fingers, and Roderick Strong eventually taps out. Like, he taps out within seconds, so MJF gets a submission victory here. So MJF gets the win on Roderick Strong. I give that match a solid B as well. After the match, MJF was, attempting, he looked like he was going to do some damage to Roderick Strong afterwards. And you see Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole come out to make the save. MJF bails. And then we see some dissension between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. And with O'Reilly eventually shoving Adam Cole down to the ground because he believes that Adam Cole, apparently didn't come to Roderick Strong's aid or something like that. So obviously we've been seeing this tease for the last couple of weeks. So we'll have to wait and see what that whole thing is about. But anyway, so MJF ends up coming out of this whole situation as the as the beneficiary, as we obviously have some problems with Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly still left to sort out. But anyway, so solid match there. All right, next up, we get our first title match in the women's division. We get our AEW TBS Championship match. The champion Mercedes Moné defended against Chris Statlander. One-on-one match. Before the match, Mercedes Moné basically asked Camille to stay in the back. This was honestly probably one of the best women's matches we've seen on the main roster in a long time. Probably one of the better women's pay-per-view matches we've seen all year. A lot of people were praising this match. This was a solid match. A lot of people are saying this was Mercedes Moné's best AEW match so far. And you really have Chris Statlander to thank for that. You also have Mercedes Moné to thank for it. I mean, she's one of the best talents in the world. That's undisputed. But this is one of the best, if not the best, women's pay-per-view matches we've seen all year for AEW. And it was solid. It was a quality match, quality outing. Mercedes Moné took the fight to Chris Statlander, worked her over. At one point, she was working a knee over. Chris Statlander fought valiantly, to overcome, her weakness, which was her, she was selling her left, knee near the end of the match. Mercedes Moné targeted that weakness, hit her with a series of moves, tried to go for a submission, but Chris, powered out of it, went for multiple pinfall attempts off the backbreaker. At one point, she hit her finisher. I forget what she calls it, like that gory bomb variation. I think she calls it. I forget what the hell she calls it. She doesn't call it bank statements. No, that's her submission. But she hit a series of moves, and Chris Statlander just kicked out of everything. Like, just powered out of everything at the end. And the crowd was really getting behind Chris Statlander, my girl Chris Statlander. But eventually, Mercedes Moné does put away Statlander after Stat attempts her. She had her in position for her finisher, Saturday Night Fever. Mercedes Moné punched away at her, at her leg, at her knee, and then eventually ended up biting it. And, Mercedes was able to get out of that situation, pull her down, get her for the tight pin, and got the 1-2-3 off of it. So Mercedes Moné survives this outing here versus Chris Statlander, and she ends up successfully retaining the TBS Championship. Much to the dismay of the crowd. The crowd was really getting into Chris Stat, but afterwards, after Mercedes won and she was doing a little dance up the rampways, you hear her people cheer for the CEO. So, very, very good match. Excellent match. One of the better matches all night. Honestly speaking, like, if they have more women's matches like this, then the AEW's women's division is pretty set, so... for all the complaints about Mercedes Moné, people talk about, Mercedes Moné's AEW run is a flop, blah, blah, blah. If she produces more matches like this, then she's going to have a very fruitful career here in AEW. And she's just getting started. Like, she only just arrived to the company back in, May? Or April, May? I forget the exact date. And she wrestled her first match in May at Double or Nothing at that show when she defeated... Will Nightingale for the TBS title. She's a double champion. She's easily one of the better talents on the roster. And Chris Statlander, my girl Chris Statlander, she deserves more. She deserves way, way more praise than she's getting. Chris Statlander, my girl, deserves to be a champion at some point. I know she was TBS champion. That honestly fell short. I really think they did my girl Chris Statlander wrong. Well, not really did her wrong, but the title was short. Her title reign was short-lived. She never really got a true shot at the title up until this point. And Chris Statlander deserves to be a champion. She deserves to have a run at the top of the women's division. If not for the TBS champion, AEW Women's World Champion. She deserves to be in that conversation. So if Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander are at the top of that division, along with, Mariah May, of course, the current AEW Women's Champion, and Mina Shirakawa, if those four are at the top of the division, the top of the card, in terms of the women's roster in AEW, boy, this division is going to have a bright future, I'll tell you. Especially with matches like this. This was excellent match. One of the best women's matches in AEW all year. Undeniable. Yeah, everybody was saying it throughout the show. Moving on. Sorry, I just had to talk about that. But moving on. So next up, we get Jay White 1-on-1 versus Hangman Page rematch from Wrestle Dream. Another solid outing between these two. These two obviously have history dating back to their Ring of Honor days when they were, young, up and coming talents. And then obviously Jay White went on to do his, do things in New Japan, multiple time IWGP World Champion. Hangman Page, same thing. He went on to New Japan and then came here to AEW. So a very solid outing, very physical. Jay White worked over Hangman Page and vice versa. There was times during the match where you thought, they were going to give Hangman Page the win here. He hit a couple of dead eyes, two in succession, but then went for the pin and Jay White kicked out. So kind of back and forth effort here. The story obviously was both guys were selling the knee, and also both guys were, trying to go for the finisher. Hangman went for the Buckshot Larry a couple times. Jay White went for the Blade Runner, and each guy had a counter for it. But eventually, we saw a little exchange as the match finished. Hangman went for a move. Jay White countered, hit seemingly a Blade Runner out of nowhere, and then he gets the pin on Hangman Page for the 1-2-3 in the win. So Jay White, at least in AEW, I believe, 2-0 versus Hangman Page, and the story, of course, being that Jay White has Hangman Page's number in terms of singles matches between the two. So Jay White picks up another victory here against Hangman Page, and that's pretty much how that goes. So another solid outing, solid match. I'll give this one a B+. And by the way, I give the Chris Statlander Mercedes Moné match, I give that a solid A minus. I thought that was a very good match. And this was another good match here between Jay White and Hangman Page, with Hangman going over. Jay White going over. So I give that match a B+ there. But good stuff at this. Solid pay-per-view up to this point. Moving on. So also, before I continue, there was a segment. I forget when it happened. I don't know if it was before or after, this match. So I might as well say it here while I'm thinking about it. There was a champagne celebration. Mina Shirakawa came out looking sexy as all hell. She had a black dress on with the, the slit up the leg, one of those kind of dresses. And so she basically, welcomed everybody in the crowd, and she said tonight is a celebration for her friend, her best friend, and the love of her life, the AEW Women's Champion, Mariah May. So Mariah May came out. She also looks sexy as well. She had a black dress on as well with the slit up the leg, and so Mariah May kind of, basically said what she said, cut a promo saying, she owns the women's division, or I forget how she worded it, but she basically in so many words said she owns the women's division in AEW. And then she turned to Mina and said, let's celebrate. So the two of them started, they drank the champagne, and Mina's music played. And then the two started dancing. And then as they're dancing, Mina Shirakawa was like kind of going down the rampway a little bit. Mariah May goes over to a table, grabs a champagne bottle, and then she goes to position like she's going to hit Mina Shirakawa with it. Mina turns around, and she ducks at the last minute. Mariah May literally tries to swing at her head with a champagne bottle. Mina ducks, and so then a brawl ensues. Mina kicks the fucking champagne bottle out of Mariah's hand, and then the two, have a scuffle. And in that scuffle, Mina Shirakawa runs at Mariah May. The two of them fall off the stage, and they crash through two tables. And then afterwards, both of them are out of it. They, after crashing through two tables, who wouldn't be out of it? But then they get checked on, they get tended to, and they both get pulled from the wreckage by, trainers or whatever. And then Mina, for whatever reason, is bleeding from the mouth. I don't know if she chipped a tooth or whatever, but she's bleeding from the mouth, and she stands. She's starts to get enraged, and she stands over Mariah May, and she grabs Mariah May by her head, and then she starts I don't know if she was trying to bite her head, or if she just was smearing the blood from her mouth and face on Mariah May's forehead, and she does that, and she throws her down, and then she goes back up the rampway as the trainers hold her back, and she gives this primal yell, and then she basically walks off, and that's pretty much it for that. So yeah, it looks like the friendship or the kinship relationship between Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May is no more, and now we know what the future program will be for the AEW Women's World Title. So yeah, can't wait for that. All right, sorry about that. I had to pause for a second. So let us continue with the remainder of the pay-per-view. So next up, we get our longest match of this card, and quite frankly, the general consensus is, the match of the night, the show stealer of the night, that being Will Ospreay 101 versus Kyle Fletcher with Don Callis in his corner. Excellent match. Match of the night. Absolute match of the night. If you want to argue this was match of the night, I would not disagree with you. This was the longest match of the show by far, 24 minutes, 15 seconds, and it was, to me anyway, well, to a lot of people, the best match on this card by far quality-wise. And there were a lot of good matches on this show, some of which I haven't gotten to yet. But absolute match of the night, you could argue match of the year candidate. These two guys went in this match, and they fucking tore the house down, dude. The crowd was into it. Holy shit, man. It was ups, it was downs. Both guys, jockey for position. Both guys looked, to me, like the best they've ever looked. Kyle Fletcher, to me, is, a lot of people are saying he's a main man after this match, which is certainly, I can certainly see. If you want, like, I personally think that going forward in the future, people are going to look back and point back to this match as the night, the match that made Kyle Fletcher into a singles competitor, single star. You could argue, because I think he's going to be doing. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. He's got a bright career ahead of him in terms of being a singles competitor. After a night like this, after a match like this. Both guys went back and forth. Excellent quality match here from start to finish. I mean, just everything, like the pacing of the match, the story going into it, the storytelling throughout it, the moves, the back and forth, the struggles, the intensity of both guys. It was just incredible. It was absolutely incredible. This match was something special. Truly something special. This was the emergence of Kyle Fletcher in this match. Will Ospreay, obviously, one of the best in the world. One of the best wrestlers in the world still to this point. But Kyle Fletcher took him to task. And the story late in the match was Kyle Fletcher, got the upper hand. He continued to hit, Will Ospreay with a series of high impact moves. At one point, hit him with a tombstone pile driver. One, when he was on the apron, had him positioned on the apron for it, and then leaped off the apron and hit him, drove Will Ospreay head first into the fucking steel steps. The crowd was stunned. The crowd couldn't fucking believe it. Will Ospreay was out, and then he grabbed him. As Will Ospreay was prone, he grabbed him, said, "I'm not going to let you off of a count-out loss." Throws him back in the ring, hits another tombstone. Will Ospreay, surprisingly, like, after all of this offense, he kicks out of, he kicks out of that. He kicks out of two tombstones. He kicks out of another move, another big high-impact move, an inverted tombstone. I think, I forget what he called it. I forget what Kyle Fletcher called that move, but he had another inverted tombstone a minute later. Will Ospreay kicked out of that. So, eventually, the match finally ends with Kyle Fletcher, again, he had full control at this point. Will Ospreay, had no offense. He had no strength. The commentators made mention of the fact that, Will Ospreay was taped up, bandaged up going into, after, of course, a Tiger Driver. That was the story. And then, with Kyle Fletcher's repeated offense targeting the head and neck of the already injured head and neck of Will Ospreay, Will Ospreay just had, no real counter, no real offense at the end. And Kyle Fletcher finally finishes him off, hits a running lift kick in the corner, then lifts him up. Lifts him up. He was like on the second turnbuckle, lifts him up head first, turns him around, drops him down head first onto the top turnbuckle. And it was a nasty spot, nasty looking move, nasty spot. The crowd even grimaced at it. Will Ospreay falls to the mat. Kyle Fletcher goes down, gets the pin, 1, 2, 3. Kyle Fletcher defeats Will Ospreay in the singles match. What a fucking epic match, dude. What an epic match this was. This, quite frankly, to a lot of people, makes Kyle Fletcher a made man in AEW in terms of the singles division. Kyle Fletcher pulls a big, huge win of his career in terms of singles matches against Will Ospreay here. Excellent quality outing. A++ for this match, dude. This was epic. This was something special. This match was something special, honestly. And Will Ospreay's had several match of the year candidates throughout the year already in AEW, in terms of his previous pay-per-view matches against, Bryan Danielson, Konosuke Takeshita, Swerve Strickland, and now this match here. That triple threat match from a couple months ago back at All Out, I believe, where he, dropped the international title. And then this match here, it's like Will Ospreay, every time this man is on a pay-per-view, he fucking delivers top tier, top-notch quality matches. It never fails. And this was another one. And Kyle Fletcher's on his way, man. He's on his way to being something special. So, what a win for Kyle Fletcher here. Moving on. So next up, we have another second title match of the night. Second title match of the show here for the AEW TNT Championship. The current champion Jack Perry defended against Daniel Garcia. So obviously the story here was that, Daniel Garcia has been fighting and fighting, throughout the year. They made mention of last year when he was in the Continental Classic and he didn't get a single win until the last week. He fought valiantly throughout the year. He's had multiple title opportunities and failed every single time. He challenged for the TNT title previously, challenged for the international title, challenged for world title. Now he's getting another opportunity here. And obviously the story going in is that Jack Perry is saying, you're not ready, so on and so forth, and basically playing head games with him. And he played some head games during this match too. So back and forth outing here. Jack Perry worked over Garcia. Garcia worked over Jack Perry, and of course Matt Menard was at ringside. So another solid outing here, back and forth match. Eventually, there was a spot where Jack Perry grabbed the TNT title and basically handed it to Daniel Garcia and basically dared him to hit him with it. Saying, come on, be a man or something like that. Trying to entice Daniel Garcia to hit him with the title with obviously the referee right there. So Daniel Garcia throws it down, hands the referee the title. And then as the referee goes to take the title away, Jack Perry hits him with a low blow, hits him with the running kick, goes for the pin. Daniel Garcia kicks out of it late too. It was like, oh shit. And so Jack Perry from that point could not put Daniel Garcia away. Daniel Garcia fought back and eventually hit Jack Perry with a series of moves. And then, just like it seemed, because Jack Perry kicked out of a couple of, Daniel Garcia's signature moves as well, he applies a sharpshooter on Jack Perry in the middle of the ring, and eventually Jack Perry submits. He taps out to Daniel Garcia. So Daniel Garcia, pulling probably the biggest win of his career all year at least, Daniel Garcia picks up the victory over Jack Perry, and Daniel Garcia wins the AEW TNT Championship, his first singles title in AEW, and the crowd was behind Daniel Garcia. What? I mean, I think there were more so behind Garcia. I think there were some, people who were cheering for Jack Perry during this match. I think it was kind of a split crowd. Much like earlier with Jay White and Hangman, that was a split crowd too. This was kind of a split crowd. More so people who were cheering for Daniel Garcia. But Daniel Garcia picks up the win. He is the new TNT champion, first singles title in AEW, and what a win for him in it. What a win for Daniel Garcia. And this is basically vindication for all his previous failures. And so what a story Daniel Garcia is, this year, I'll say. And so Big Match Daniel, as I've been calling him, Big Match Daniel gets it done, puts down Jack Perry, makes him submit, taps him out to the sharpshooter. Daniel Garcia is the new TNT champion. So good stuff there. I'll give this match a B, B-. I thought it was good. I thought it was good stuff. So they definitely told a story with this match, both, before and during the match. All right, next up, we have our next match, our third title match of the show here. This one being for the International Championship. The champion, Konosuke Takeshita, defeated Ricochet. Another solid outing, kind of a clash of styles. Ricochet, obviously the high flyer. He likes to use those high spots and those, high-octane, high-risk maneuvers, as we've, seen him since his time in AEW, short time in AEW, where Konosuke Takeshita is more of a ground-based striker. He is also very technically sound, as utilizes a lot of throws, a lot of suplexes, and so back and forth match, very, very, very evenly matched throughout it. Like neither of these guys really had an advantage. Of course, Don Callis was on commentary for this match. So there was a point where Ricochet gets the upper hand, hits him with a nice springboard 450, got a very close near fall, which causes Don Callis to get up off the commentary table when he goes to ringside, and he starts, trying to will on Konosuke, and he stayed at ringside for the remainder of the match. And so back and forth. Eventually, Konosuke takes advantage off of a miscue from Ricochet, hits him with a couple moves, then hits him with the big knee strike to the face. Big knee strike right to the face of Ricochet, as with the he pulled down his knee pad to expose his knee, his full knee, his unprotected knee, I should say. Hits him with the big knee strike, gets the pin on him for the 1-2-3 in the wing. Konosuke Takeshita puts away Ricochet here, and he retains the AEW International Championship. And so, very fine match here, solid match. I'll give this one a B grade as well. I thought both guys looked very good. Ricochet, even in the loss, looks solid. And Konosuke, since becoming international champion, and a lot of people have been calling, there's been a lot of support for Konosuke Takeshita, even as a heel, even as part of the Don Callis family. The crowd couldn't stand Don Callis. They were chanting, "Fuck you, Don Callis," which, of course, early in the show, by the way, I forgot to mention this. At one point, the crowd was chanting, "Fuck you, Caster," during that opening four-way tag match, which kind of kind of gives you a little hint, a little sign of, the crowd is kind of turning on Max Caster, and obviously Max Caster's turning anyway. But anyway, but yeah, the people are behind Konosuke Takeshita, and now that he's international champion, they're definitely behind him. So a nice way to push, your young up and coming talent. Yeah, Daniel Garcia won the TNT title. Konosuke Takeshita retains the international title here, and of course, you had Kyle Fletcher defeating Will Ospreay, biggest, greatest match of the night, biggest win in the career of Kyle Fletcher. So AEW's future is looking pretty bright with all these homegrown, up-and-coming talents, man. But Konosuke puts away Ricochet here, retains the international title. Good stuff. All right, so then we get our second to the last match of the night. We get the debuting Bobby Lashley, accompanied by the Hurt Syndicate, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin, versus Swerve Strickland, accompanied by Prince Nana. Very physical match. Bobby Lashley, I'll say this. Bobby Lashley has not missed a step. He has not missed a beat. Looked very, very fluent in this match. He was dominating. He was dominating Swerve Strickland from the early outset. Swerve had no counter for, Bobby Lashley's power. Utilized several power moves. He had a couple simple wrestling holds. Simple, he had a neck breaker, had a couple, hard clotheslines, a spine buster in the ring. Then the two fought on the outside for a bit. Then eventually Swerve got back into the match. Swerve started to mount a comeback, despite, despite being worked over. At one point, Swerve had control of the match. He was beating up, he was working over Bobby Lashley. They were fighting on the outside. I think Lashley was driven into the steel steps, and then Swerve, as Prince Nana is willing him on, Swerve runs, he's on the outside, he runs at the steel steps, then leaps off the steps, and it hits a Swerve stomp on Lashley, putting him through the announce table right behind Lashley, because Lashley was standing right in front of the announce table near the steps. Swerve leaps off the steel steps, hits the stomp, driving Lashley into the announce table. I was like, damn. So at that point, Swerve had full control of the match. Match goes back to in the ring. Swerve continues, the offense. He hits or goes for a Swerve stomp. I think Lashley countered it. Or I think at one point Shelton Benjamin caused a distraction. He got on the apron. And then, the fight, the two guys fought on the outside, on the other side of the ring for a bit. And then at one point, as Swerve was taking control, because Swerve got face-to-face, nose-to-nose with MVP, they turned around, Lashley caught him, drove him, ran him into the steel steps, and then Lashley hits a fucking spear, runs it, Swerve hits him with a spear, drives him through the fucking barricade on the outside with the spear. I was like, oh, damn. I mean, after that, I knew it was like academic after that. So then, at that point, Swerve was damn near incapacitated. So Lashley grabs Swerve, throws him back in the ring, sets him up, hits another spear, this time in the ring, but he doesn't go for the cover. Instead, he kind of bulks himself up, pulls up Swerve, puts him in the hurt lock, and Swerve was basically out, at that point, after like 5-10 seconds in the hurt lock, the referee calls for the bell. So Bobby Lashley gets the victory here via, I guess you say referee stoppage, submission, but Lashley gets the win over Swerve Strickland here. Very, very impressive outing for Lashley in his debut match, in his debut pay-per-view match. He for the most part dominated Swerve here. And Swerve did mount to come back. Swerve did get some offense in near the end, and it looked like Swerve was starting to get, he did have control of the match for a bit. And then it obviously was the Hurt Syndicate who paid dividends in the end. Shelton Benjamin at one point was thrown out of the match too. And but Swerve could not overcome, Bobby Lashley here. So Bobby Lashley gets the win, as I kind of, predicted. I mean, I didn't think they would have Lashley lose in his pay-per-view debut, but yeah. So Lashley looked solid. He looked fluid. He looked like he hasn't missed a step. Since his days when he was champion in TNA, he was a world champion for a time in WWE. He looks like he hasn't missed a beat. And something about this match, he looked about as solid in terms of in-ring worker. He looked about as solid as I've seen him. And if this is the Bobby Lashley we're going to get in AEW, boy, look out, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what Lashley does, throughout in the remainder of his time here in AEW, man. I can't wait to see what Lashley does next, in terms of like who he faces, and because there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of potential matches to be had for Bobby Lashley in AEW. But Lashley gets the win here. I'll give this match a solid B minus B. I thought it was good, for what it was. 13 minutes, 25 seconds. It served its purpose. After the match, you saw a post-match attack where Prince Nana, who was in the ring checking on Swerve, got beat up. He got gang attacked, and then Lashley applied the Hurt Lock to him, and then he got taken out. And so the Hurt Syndicate, imposes their physical will on both Swerve Strickland, courtesy of Bobby Lashley, and then on Prince Nana afterwards. And they leave both guys laid out in the ring, and they leave the ring all collectively, and that's permission for that. So the Hurt Syndicate is here, man. The Hurt Syndicate is here, and look out. Like I said, look out AEW roster. I'll say that. Anyway, so next up, we get our main event match of the night here for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. The current champion, Jon Moxley, accompanied, of course, by Marina Shafir and the rest of the Death Riders. Well, they weren't all at ringside, at least not initially. But Jon Moxley, one-on-one versus the defending champion, Jon Moxley, one-on-one versus Orange Cassidy. Out of the gate, as they're doing the intro, Orange Cassidy goes right on the attack on Moxley. Very uncharacteristic of Orange Cassidy to do that, but he did here in this match, and obviously he needed to. But Cassidy comes out of the gate, hits Moxley with multiple orange punches. The two fight on the outside. Moxley gains control. Moxley starts to beat on Orange Cassidy, which pretty much was the story of the match. Moxley just roughed up, banged up Orange Cassidy. At one point, Cassidy was busted open early. Moxley hit a paradigm shift right on top of the steel steps. Again, we saw a lot of steel step spots on this pay-per-view. But anyway, so Cassidy was busted open. Moxley was working him over for like a good 5, 6, 7 minutes. And the crowd was trying to will on Orange Cassidy. He was, getting worked over, getting beat up here inside the ring, outside the ring. And eventually Orange Cassidy starts to fight back. He starts to fire back because Moxley can't put him away. And Orange Cassidy makes his comeback, hits, orange punches, couple orange punches in a row, hits the beach break for a close near fall, hits a couple of nice, tornado DDT variations, comes off the turnbuckles, had a couple of turnbuckle spots as well. So at one point, seemingly, Orange Cassidy was getting control of the match. And again, these two wrestled each other a multitude of times last year, over the international title. Moxley won one match, and then, Orange Cassidy won, the second one at Full Gear last year, which was mentioned. But at one point, you saw the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli and Pac made their way through the crowd into the to ringside, and then they both get on the apron. That's when Rocky Romero and I believe it was Rocky Romero and I forget who else. Rocky Romero and I believe it was Kyle O'Reilly come down. They intercept the Death Riders. Huge brawl breaks out at ringside. You see the referee trying to gain control. Other officials came out trying to gain control. And then at one point, Marina Shafir gets in the ring, teases like she's going to attack Orange Cassidy, and Willow Nightingale comes to intercept her. So finally, a female, another woman talent comes to basically negate, if you will, or counter Marina Shafir. So the two of them fight. They fight on the outside. They go through the crowd, and again the referees the referees trying to gain control of everything. As this is going on, Orange Cassidy hits Jon Moxley with the briefcase that Marina Shafir brought in the ring. Goes for the pin. Moxley kicks out at 2, and then again the fight continues. Then I think the referee was distracted with, again, some more of the stuff going on outside the ring, the fight going outside the ring. And then a man came in, run in the ring, a hooded man rushed in the ring, hit Orange Cassidy with a running kick, and then quickly darted to the outside. And then we saw, as his hood came down, it was Wheeler Yuta, who hadn't been seen all night. Wheeler Yuta attacks Orange Cassidy. Jon Moxley capitalizes, hits the paradigm shift. The Death Rider, I'm sorry. He hits the Death Rider variation in the middle of the ring, goes for the pin, referee counts 3, Jon Moxley wins the match, Jon Moxley retains, which I pretty much figured would happen. So, after all the speculation as to whether or not whose side Wheeler Yuta was on, Wheeler Yuta basically shows whose side he's truly on. He aids Jon Moxley in the win here. Jon Moxley retains the title, and that's pretty much how the match ended. So great stuff, man. Another quality outing from Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy, this being their third match, third pay-per-view match. And Jon Moxley gets the win here, bringing his win total to two wins to 1 over Orange Cassidy. So that was pretty much it for that. And that was the main event. That was the main event match there. But that was not the end of the show. Not quite at the end of the show, because after the match, it looked like the Death Riders were about to go on the offense. Were about to gang attack Orange Cassidy after the match and maybe do some damage to him, much like they did to Bryan Danielson back at Wrestle Dream. Was it Wrestle Dream? Yeah, back at Wrestle Dream when they won the title from him. So the Death Riders are in the ring. They start to beat on Orange Cassidy. Then all of a sudden, some of the guys, who came out earlier start, to get in the ring. The Death Rider fight them off, and then of all people, Hangman Page runs out with a steel chair, clocks Claudio Castagnoli in the side of the head with a chair, and then Moxley turns around. We see a face-off between Jon Moxley and Hangman Page. Of course, these two have history. They wrestled in Texas Death Match like a year or two ago. So as the stare down is going down, it looked like both guys were like, trying to jockey for position. Suddenly, Christian Cage comes out of nowhere, hits Jon Moxley, grabs Jon Moxley from behind, hits him with the kill switch, leaves him laid out, and then you see a face-off between Christian Cage and Hangman Page, and then Christian is holding his contract, or his that thing, the contract, for a guaranteed title match, because it's pretty much like a guaranteed title shot. He can cash it in whenever he wants. It's much like, Money in the Bank. It's basically AEW's Money in the Bank. But he holds the contract in his hand. He has this stare down with Hangman Page. Page, gives him this look, and then he, leaves the ring and storms up the rampart. Christian looks, and Moxley is taken out, laid out at this point. Christian goes over the referee, looks like he's about to hand the contract to the referee to cash in and, get the win on Moxley. Then all of a sudden, Jay White comes out of nowhere, grabs him, hits him with the Blade Runner. So Christian Cage's attempt to cash in his guaranteed title shot is once again thwarted, this time by Jay White. So Jay White takes out Christian Cage. Claudio Castagnoli, Pac run back in the ring, attack Jay White, knock him out of the ring. And then Claudio and Pat grab Jon Moxley, pull him to safety. Marina Shafir joins them, and the group of them, the Death Riders, all leave together. They go to the side of the stage. They all leave, in the back of the arena, or the back of the stage area where the exit is. So the camera follows them, and they're making their way. All five of them are making their way to the truck, that they drive. So they're about to get to the truck, in the parking lot, and then all of a sudden a car comes out of nowhere, blindside, hits the fucking truck head on, and it fucking, like, the Death Riders can't believe it. They're like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck just happened? Blah, blah, blah. And so they're just, like, they're panicking at this point. And then they go over to the side as, the wreckage, they see the wreckage from the truck, being hit by the car. And so they go over, they basically hijack somebody else's truck, like a Mercedes, like a white Mercedes. They go over to this truck. They basically commandeer this truck. They all run into they all dart into, or get into the Mercedes and drive off. And then the camera pans over to where the truck was hit, and Darby Allin gets out of the car. Darby Allin gets out of the car that rammed the truck, and he's basically yelling. He's like, "Come back here, get back here! I'm not done with you!" And then he starts taking his skateboard and smashing the hood of the Death Rider's truck or whatever. As so security comes over and basically tries to get Darby Allin to stop what he's doing, and that's how the show closes out. So that's how the pay-per-view closed out. So what a crazy way to end the show for the second pay-per-view in a row. Wrestle Dream, of course, you saw what happened at the end of the Wrestle Dream after Bryan Danielson, was dropped the title or lost the title to Jon Moxley, and he got choked out with that plastic bag and all that. And the Death Riders pretty much established themselves as a top heel faction. Now here we get the Death Riders retaining again. They try to do the same to Orange Cassidy, and you had a bunch of stuff happen. Christian Cage attempted to come out and cash in, and Jay White came out, Hangman Page came out. Then the Death Riders go to escape, to basically bail, and then their truck gets basically totaled. Their truck gets crashed into by fucking Darby Allin, and Darby Allin chases them away. And so I imagine at some point we're going to see Darby Allin, in the pursuit for Jon Moxley, for the Death Riders, and for the AEW World title. So I'm thinking that's going to be the next program at some point. Maybe not immediately, but at some point that's going to be the next program. But that's how the show goes off the air. So Jon Moxley, Orange Cassidy, that match gets an A- from me as well. I thought it was a solid outing, 19-minute match. And so those two have put on some quality pay-per-view matches both last year and now here with this Full Gear show. But yeah, so that was all the matches. 9 matches in total for the main pay-per-view, and then 3 for the 0 hour. So all in all, excellent pay-per-view, quality pay-per-view. If I had to give it a grade on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give this one a 9 out of 10. I personally think this is right up there with Revolution and Double or Nothing as to one of the better pay-per-views AEW's produced all year. They've produced good pay-per-views pretty much throughout the year. Like, there's not a single bad pay-per-view that they've had this year. There are some that are better than others. Like I said, I personally think Wrestle Dream was like the weaker of the shows in terms of quality, but that was still a quality pay per view. That was still a thumbs up, two thumbs up show. But this here, Full Gear, I think it definitely was up there with one of the better shows they've done. AEW's produced in terms of pay per views. So good shit, man. Good stuff. But anyway, that was it for that. So good show, good shit. Just about every match on this show, on the main show, was either a B minus or above. And I think all in all, just based on everything that happened, several really good matches. Of course, the world title match, the TNT title match, international title match. Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher was great. Bobby Lashley, Swerve Strickland was solid. Mercedes Moné, Chris Statlander was excellent. Another excellent match there. So you could point to 4 or 5 matches potentially being match of the night. I personally think Kyle Fletcher, Will Ospreay was match of the night, and several match of the year candidates. So excellent show, excellent pay-per-view, and AEW delivers again. 9 out of 10 show for me. Absolutely, 9 out of 10. So that's pretty much it for that. That is my overview. That is my review, my recap, if you will, my thoughts for AEW's Full Gear 2024 pay-per-view. And so that's pretty much going to do it for that. Yeah, this video is like 45 minutes, so let me just wrap this up here. That's what I thought the show, man. I thought it was good. I thought it was great stuff. People are going to bitch and moan and complain, because that's what they do. But this crowd was rocking here in Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center. Over 10,000 seats sold, over 10,000 people in attendance for this show. And you could tell because it was loud, it was rocking all night. And so all the people who bitch and moan and complain about AEW can't fill an arena, half-empty arenas, attended, blah, 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 all that bullshit, they can now collectively shut the fuck up because AEW's shown that they can pack an arena with this show here, still, to this point, even with the slump that they're in. But anyway, that's pretty much it for that. So let me just wrap this up here. Great show, excellent show. I give it a 9 out of 10. And good stuff, man. Can't wait to see what AEW does, how AEW follows up from the storylines and the things that we've seen on this show. But anyway, that's going to be it for me. So thank you for watching this AEW Full Gear 2024 review. And so that is going to do it for that. So once again, appreciate you guys for watching. For those of you who have watched the video up to this point, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, give me your thoughts on Full Gear, what you thought was the best match, what did you think of the show, give me your thoughts on anything I talked about here. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, man, if you haven't already. Appreciate all the support I can get. And with that being said, that is going to do it, man. So I'm going to close it out here. So thank you for watching once more. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Sunday. And, of course, we got Thanksgiving in a couple days, so happy holidays to everybody. I will see you guys more than likely with a video between now and Thanksgiving. But just want to say happy holidays to you, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you all have a good rest of your Sunday, good rest of your weekend. And that's going to do it for me, so thank you for watching once more. Till next time, Rest of Otaku, I'm out. See you guys in the next video. And be sure to follow me over on Blue Sky as well. More content to come very soon. But then, till then, Rest of Otaku, I'm out. See you guys later. And peace.